Hello and welcome to this episode of Fellowship in Essential Oils. I'm feeling celebratory and buzzy today. Maybe that's because we're talking about a rather sunshiny oil. We're going to explore bergamot today, Liz.
Yes, I have to say it's a lovely, happy oil, isn't it? And while it does have physical attributes, the emotional aspect is the most important part of this oil.
And we'll definitely be diving into that as well. Now, I started off by introducing it as bergamot. Now, how do you say it?
Yeah, I don't say it like that. I say bergamot.
Yeah.
I don't know which is right.
Backward and forward, you hear lots of discussions backward and forward. I actually think bergamot might be correct, but either, we know which oil we're talking about. And the other interesting thing is, I originally thought it was this green citrus fruit. And sometimes you see pictures of like a bumpy green rind and that type of thing. And it wasn't until I had that on a cover of one of my other YouTube videos and people started going, that's not a bergamot. And then I realized it's actually a yellow fruit. And it just kind of looks like a yellow grapefruit, to be honest. It's not that, not that unique, really.
You're telling me something I didn't know, because I've worn this specifically because I thought it was green. So it's not green. I always thought it was green-orange.
Yeah, no. So the green, I'll have to try and remember that's a type of lime or something, that one that's often pictured. But somewhere along the line, someone thought that was bergamot and off it went. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion.
For the haters that have always got to have their word.
I don't normally listen to them, but this time I did. Yeah, exactly. It took me down a rabbit hole. So, there's a lot of confusion about how to say it and what it actually looks like, but we can definitely talk for a long time on the essential oil and what it's used for. And I often think of, it's not just another citrus oil. And I kind of imagine if you and I were hanging out at a party with all citrus oils, tangerine would probably be a little bit wild and, grapefruit's probably being a little bit tarty in the corner and mandarin's probably playing a joke on someone. But bergamot would just be kind of in the corner chilling, just relaxing.
No, not chilling. So that's that's probably the most important thing to say, that it's got a strange odor profile that is uplifting but not sedative. That's why it's so important. So there's a lot of research in places like old people's homes, for example.
Yeah.
People with dementia get very agitated, as you know.
Yes.
And so that could be managed using things like benzodiazepines, but then that makes them kind of like zombies, which to a certain extent makes them a little easier to manage. However, then they can't communicate if they're in pain.
Wow.
So that's difficult, isn't it? So they've been really looking to see which essential oils can calm somebody down, deal with the agitation, but don't make them like zombies. And there is no sedative odor profile in bergamot.
Interesting. And I have also seen studies about the benefits of diffusing in hospitals as well.
Yes.
So the same kind of stressful environment for patients, staff, and visitors. It's a commonly used one that seems to be a lot of in the field research done on the benefits of diffusing this essential oil.
Yes, and I think particularly in COVID, it became really important to try to deal with frontline workers' stress. And of course, there was all those people that working in hospitals, poor people, surrounded by an incredibly stressful environment, but they couldn't afford to have them like having lavender and stuff because it just make them more dozy. So again, you're quite right. That bergamot words went. Bergamot is a really good way to be dealing with that. So somebody's really suffering from stress or depression. Depression's a really important keyword with bergamot. But I don't think lavender would make you too drowsy to drive, but those things are cumulative, aren't they? So that sort of uplifting, but I'm still on top of my game, is really important.
Well, I personally use bergamot the most on a physical level. I actually really like it in my bedroom diffuser at night on days when I've had a shitty day, kind of thing. Would you recommend it?
Bleep that out.
Oh, I've sworn. That's right. I'm Australian. It comes with the territory. Australians are renowned for swearing. I think the English aren't far behind. So
I probably taught you everything you know.
Probably, exactly.
But you're absolutely, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But however, energetically, I feel like it's a morning oil, not an evening oil to me.
Got you.
Because I like that feeling like you can be in charge of the day, if you know what I mean. Right, I know what I'm going to do. I know what my deadlines are. I can do that. Whereas I think, because like at the end of the day, I want sedative oils, but
Yeah.
I think it's a really good way to use it.
Yeah, I guess, in the context of the overall sleep oils, if we kind of go on a tangent for a second, on general sleep nights, things like lavender, vetiver, cedarwood, that'll be amazing for me. But I just find on those nights where we've just had a rubbish day and we almost need a bit of, and you can mix it with a lavender or something else as well, where you just kind of need a bit of a mood boost just to kind of like not go to bed totally miserable or hopefully get a little bit of a boost during the day or during the night as you sleep. I love it then.
Yeah, and I think if we're not careful, we'll play down it's the importance of it as an antidepressant. Even in a clinical situation where somebody is clinically depressed, then this and yuzu would be my go-to oils.
Very much so. I've got a friend and a colleague who has had big challenges with mental health in their lives, and used a protocol, and bergamot featured really heavily just as aromatic use and topically on the chest with a bit of fractionated coconut oil. So they were inhaling it and found really, really supportive effects from that.
Yeah. Yes, I do like to use it as in an aroma pendant. I think we should address. Well, let's look at it from a slightly different point of view rather than from a safety point of view. We talk about how it is sunshine.
Yes.
And I do think that the sunshine in the oil is the problem that causes phototoxicity. You can get a version of the oil that is FCF, furanocoumarant free, which means that you don't have the problems with phototoxicity. But it's nowhere near as good for depression. It's like the sunshine's been taken out. So there is a way to navigate that, because it is, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the picture that goes around the internet of the woman that's been really, really badly burnt with essential oils.
I've actually never seen that one. No.
Oh, it's horrific. And it was Bergamot that did it. And I mean, you're too young probably to know this, but when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was like a teenager, we used to have this, everybody used to lather on this brown sun lotion called Bergasol. And you used to go really, really deep brown, and it was the bergamot oil in it. But then they went, oh, this isn't really a very good idea, and then it got banned because it is so phototoxic. But if you want to navigate it, so the first thing is, I would really use not the FCF one, like a proper bergamot, if you're going to be doing inhalation work, especially if you've got depression, get all of the sunshine in. But if you're going to use it topically and you want to use it in the daytime, like I say, I prefer to use it in the morning. But the problem is, if you go outside into direct sunlight after you've been using it, then you run the risk of phototoxicity, skin sensitization. So the way to navigate that is to bring your dilution way, way, way down. So maximum dilution of bergamot oil would normally be 3%. But if you drop it right down to 0.4%, then you go, I don't really understand why, but you go below the plateau that will cause phototoxicity. So you can use it safely and not worry about, I mean, let's not say, you can worry about, you don't have to worry about going on a sunbed. There's a million reasons to worry about going on a sunbed, but then it wouldn't be bergamot. But the same way, you don't have to worry about going outside in the sunshine. So particularly like if you use it as an aroma pendant, then you don't have that problem. But if you do want to use it topically, if you drop it down to 0.4%, then you will be guarded against that problem. The other issue to worry about is because it's high in monoterpenes. That's why it's so sunshiny. That's why it's so uplifting. But monoterpenes decay. They oxidize very, very quickly. So you need to be replacing your bergamot oil regularly after about 6 months. And anybody who watches this regularly will know that I have mine on a perpetual like subscription to come without me even remembering, and I can just take the old one off the shelf and not have to worry about hurting anybody's skin that way. So 6-month replacements, and they're cheap oils, aren't they? Citrus oils. It's not a big expenditure.
And I guess, those that might have just dropped into this episode and not watched all our other episodes, we have talked about in the past that you do that with several different citrus oils. So you're replacing a new citrus oil every month on a 6-month rotation?
Once a month. It costs me, about £4, doesn't it, per month? But it means that, like, I don't have to worry about the skin sensitivity of orange and lemon, bergamot, grapefruit, mandarin, and one other, but I can't think what it is off the top of my head. But that means just one a month means that I've got this continual safe loop. And the other thing is that when they do oxidize, they don't smell as great anyway. So you're keeping on top of that.
Exactly. And also, if anyone is a beginner and wondering what we're talking about with this skin sensitivity, as a general rule, all your citrus oils, and a couple of others as well, but citrus oils, when popped on your skin, if you go out in direct sunlight, it can increase the likelihood of getting burned. So you should never put them on topically, except Liz was talking about the dilution then. But just be really careful with any of your citrus oils. They smell great, but they will increase that burning on the skin. Yeah?
Yeah. So what happens, if people are interested to know, so most essential oils will be distilled, won't they? The plant matter goes into a still, the steam takes it out, but that's not what happens with citrus oils. They use this, they're extracted via a protocol called eclectic, which is like loads and loads of pins on the rind of the fruit on the outside. So when that's squashed out, what happens is there's a small amount of lipid of fat that will transfer across, and that's where the photosensitivity comes from, that they react to the sun on your skin.
If anyone's interested in kind of checking out the essential oil of citrus, if you've got a citrus at home, I just like to push my nail along it, and you'll actually kind of see it start to ooze or squirt out just in a little micro level, won't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I always say to people, like, quite often people will ring me in like crisis because they're very low or they're anxious, and it doesn't matter if you haven't got an essential oil. All you need is a bit of fruit. Rub it in your hands, and you get that essential oil straight onto your hands.
I had some fun being here in Bahrain in the Middle East. I went to an orchard where they just grow random rare citrus fruits, and I'm sitting there squeezing my finger or my thumb across them all and smelling the different essential oils and citruses I've never heard of before, because obviously the citrus family is rather large. Fascinating aromas. Don't know if they'll ever be enough commercially viable for an essential oil, but it was fun to play with at least.
That's the thing, isn't it? And so we just taking that slightly back off that tangent back onto the physical properties. When we're using citrus oils, they all kind of have a similar property, that they're very, very astringent. And so they are lovely for skincare, especially if you've got like greasy skin, dirty skin, acne. All of those will, as long as you keep your dilutions low, will clean the skin right out. And bergamot's lovely if you've got to do 1 or 2 drops in a bowl of hot water and just put a towel over your head and just let it steam the skin. That really cleans the skin very, very well.
And that might be a nicer way, rather than adding it to, a cleanser where it could be a bit, like a couple of drops could be a bit too much for the skin, couldn't it?
Yeah, I like it in toners though, I have to say. A drop or two in a little bit of alcohol and then shaken into something like a lavender floral water is really beautiful. Good for for teenage skin in particular.
Are there any other physical kind of challenges that you might reach for bergamot for?
Water infections. I don't think there's anything as good as bergamot for water infections. So, and actually, although I don't advocate internal use very often, I have seen situations where somebody's had a like bleeding cystitis, and just 1 drop of bergamot in some vodka has completely stopped it within minutes. But I would always say use something like cypress or geranium or bergamot externally first. Don't go down the route of internal if you can help it, but it will really work very fast.
Yeah. And we assume it's the bergamot, not the vodka.
Yeah,
Who
well,
knows?
maybe.
Yeah. So in the emotional realm, this is one that I really love. And in a recent episode, we talked about spikenard, and I talked about spikenard being nice for self-worth and really helping with one's value. For me, bergamot is really, really beautiful for helping with someone's self-esteem. And it would probably be my number one oil for those that are feeling like I'm just rubbish kind of thing. Sorry, you're going to speak?
Nope, go on.
No. Yeah, so anyone who's just kind of wanting to do, we're always working on our self-esteem and our self-worth. Anyone who's wanting to do that work, often what's encouraged is something like affirmations, or that kind of self-esteem practices. The more you can bring in this, bring in bergamot for that elevatory kind of effect, I think can really enhance anything you're doing. When you just, I work with it when on days I'm feeling low, when I get into bed and it's been a flat day, or anytime I need to lift. I think bergamot is a really, really great oil. I think it works physically, but it does come into that emotional realm, and we'll kind of venture into the spiritual as we go along as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I will come back to that in a second. But I think also just this idea of sunshine, when people are depressed, that there's hope at the end of the tunnel, really. That people can, I don't know, if somebody's depressed, it can seem like the world is very, very grey for a long time, and it really changes the way I think that you see light. I don't know scientifically how you would explain that in terms of it touching the brain, but I'm sure that eventually we will be able to. That it doesn't seem like there's like everything's grey and blunted and gloomy. You suddenly do notice things feeling a bit lighter, and so that is really important when somebody's depressed, I think.
Yeah. And I think where I also love it in this kind of arena is when someone's flipping themselves into self-comparison. And I find, we often, I love to, when I'm looking at challenges in life, different people look to, different teachings or things like that. And I always like to look at, okay, how would nature approach this? And if we think about, everything in nature is very, very different, but all plays an important role. And comparing a tiger to a fish, to an oak tree, to an ant, it is stupid. But we sit there and go, well, I'm not like that person on Instagram, or I'm not like that person on TV, so I have no value. No, that person's really good at something, but we're good at something else. And I think bergamot is a really great one for just helping you, again, like you're saying, bring that sunshine in. And it works really beautifully with the solar plexus chakra, and it allows us to let our light shine, our unique light, rather than trying to imitate someone else's or compare to someone else as well.
Yes, and it's very genteel. I mean, we've probably skipped over an important aspect of the oil. It is the flavour of Earl Grey tea. Now that's what it's grown for, and that's very genteel. That one walks into a room and sits very quietly and drinks one's tea, aware that people are probably watching. Now that's very much Earl Grey ideal, and I think that comes from the oil of being able to say, well, that I am lit up. I'm not necessarily in the spotlight, but people are probably observing me and seeing interesting things that maybe I can't see.
Now, we normally talk about astrology at the end, but I'm going to slot it in here today. I still find bergamot to be a bit more, connected to the sun and connected to Leo.
Yes, and so I knew that we would end up there. That's why I said I'm going to come back to the self-worth, because I absolutely agree. Of course, it's the sun. Of course, it's Leo. And so all of that is solar plexus energy as well. So you would look at the physical things of solar plexus, of digestion and stuff like that. But a lot of that comes from just like an internal calm that it brings, but certainly this idea of self-worth, of being worthy. But also we can take it further and into the archetype that it's strengthening and it's fortifying. All of those things come from the shriveled person with the depression is really born in it, and eventually we stand up like a tree, really, and that comes
Mm.
from the sun.
Yeah. And you know, it may not be one of the premier oils for helping with physical digestive issues, but it definitely helps us to digest our life. Because if we have confidence in ourselves, then we're going to be able to deal with the challenges each day and go, well, whatever happens, you know, like that Leo-esque energy, well, I'm the star and I'll navigate through these challenges and these dramas and that type of thing. So it helps on that emotional level with the solar plexus chakra really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I just think when the solar plexus is weak, then we're buffeted by everything that comes our way. And it's very easy to go from I'm okay to I'm in the doldrums again, and it's something's hitting and I can't quite get back up. But if you use sun oils, then you get that strengthened nature of being able to fight back faster and bounce back faster.
Yeah. Now, today I brought a bit of show and tell with you because I've got a little thing that I've been teaching for probably 25 years now, and it incorporates bergamot, and people have really loved it. And I've had lots of feedback from many, many people about it actually works really well as well. So this is my favorite little abundance spell. So what you need is you need your bergamot essential oil, you need a crystal, and it's citrine. And those that are kind of new to crystals, there's two types of citrine. There's a natural citrine that naturally grows yellow in the ground, and this one that's kind of bright that people are more familiar with that actually grew in the ground as an amethyst. It's purple, and then they put it in a heater and it turns to that yellow color. But they're both.
So that didn't grow yellow?
No, that was actually an amethyst when it came out of the
ground.
ground.
Is that always the case with citrine?
With those, as you can see, this one here, those bright ones, yes, that's called heat-treated citrine, and it came out of the ground as a purple amethyst, and then they put it in an oven, the iron changes around a little bit, and it turns into the yellow.
Why would you do that?
Pardon?
Why would you do that?
Because amethyst grows more readily, but people want some yellow crystals too. And so, as you can see, the natural one is a little less kind of impressive. This is a bit more chilled. This is a bit more vibrant. Yep. So, yeah. So, there you go. There you go. And if you want to find out more about citrine, check out my citrine videos on YouTube. But you're going to need a little citrine, your bergamot essential oil, and then you're going to need the largest note that's in your currency. So, show and tell from Australia, we have 100 is our largest note. And the cool thing about Australian money, it's plastic. So it can go through the washing machine, or you can take it to the beach and it won't dissolve.
Ours is like that now, but it all sticks together.
Oh, ours doesn't. Ours is very, very good. But
very good.
Yes, yeah. So what you do is you sit, in a meditative state, you kind of sit there and you contemplate, what does abundance look like to me? Does that look like do you see your credit card all paid off? Do you see a certain money in the bank account? Are you living a certain lifestyle? Are you going on a certain holiday? And you hold that for a little while, visualize that, and you want to kind of alight your senses. So you don't just want to think about it, you want to kind of be in it. So you want to see it, smell it, taste it, feel it, hear it, as though you're actually there. If you wanted to manifest a new car, see your hand on that wheel, feel it, smell that new car smell. Maybe you're driving along the coast, you can taste the salty air and hear the engine or the music playing. And you kind of generate that energy. And then what you want to do is you want to grab your little crystal and you hold that in the hand that you write with. So most of us, that will be our right hand. And you send that energy and that kind of image into the crystal. And you do that for as long as you can. Now, what we love about crystals is crystals have been found because of their crystalline structure, growing in perfect squares or rectangles or hexagons or so on, they hold a lot more energy. So it's going to hold that image for you. Then you're going to get your bergamot essential oil. Get a couple of drops in your hands. You're going to rub that all over the crystal, and you're going to rub that on, for in Australia, $100 note or whatever it may be, pound, euro, so on. And then the crystal and the money go into your purse or your wallet. So how do these all work together? The crystal is holding that image or that vibration that even when you're not thinking about abundance, it keeps it nearby you. The bergamot works in a couple of ways. We've talked about self-worth a lot so far today. And what you'll find is when we feel good about ourselves, the universe normally pays us what we believe we're worth. And people always go, oh, well, I'm priceless. And I'm like, okay, so if I was to hire you, could you give me $100 per hour worth of value? And they're like, oh, yeah, what about $1,000 worth of value? And we all have a point where we're like, I don't know if I'm worth $10,000 an hour. and that type of thing. So working on bergamot helps our self-worth, which can kind of raise our vibration and how abundant we feel we deserve. Plus, what you're doing is you're creating what I call an aromatic anchor. We all know that we smelt things before, and it's reminded us of our grandmother that we loved or an ex that we hated, and it takes us back through that limbic system. And so you're starting to associate bergamot with not only self-worth, but that feeling of abundance. So each time you open your wallet or your purse, you're getting that waft of bergamot, taking you back to that feeling. Now, the trick is with that note, you're never allowed to spend it. And what starts to happen is each time you're opening your purse, instead of going, oh, I've got no money, you go, oh, I've got some money. Now, I've had that $100 note sitting in my wallet now for several years. When I was younger, I used to keep spending it because I had an emergency, like I had to buy that jacket, and I put another $100 note in. But my money kept on running out. But once I was actually like, no, I will refuse to spend it. And even if I'm at a cash-only market or something, I'll walk for 15 minutes to go find an ATM to go get money out, because that is my commitment to not running out of money. My budget or my money always goes up and down, but I always have enough to pay for what I need to pay for. And from doing that, and lots of people have been doing that, I'd love everyone else to give it a shot as well. It's been absolutely amazing in how much people have found their finances have just kind of tilted over a little bit, that they're not running out of money and having to wait until Thursday to pay their next bill.
You're on. I'm going to do it.
Excellent. I expect feedback. And those that are coming to our masterclass in February, we would love to hear about, give it a shot. And I'll share another abundance one that's got a few more essential oils and a few more crystals. It's my Web of Abundance one. I'll share that in the masterclass, but I'd love anyone to start trying that now and then come to our masterclass and let us know how they're going with it.
Very good.
So yeah, bergamot, I think it is it's definitely one that we need in our essential oil collection. I think it does sit slightly it's the same but different from the rest of the citrus oils. And I don't think you need to go, oh, I've got orange and lemon, I don't need bergamot. Would you agree?
Yes. I had to think that. I was thinking, how many times do I actually use it? But yes, I think that I think from an emotional point of view, it's an extremely good anchor, a rescue oil to use. Yeah.
It just, for me, it just has a little bit more of a depth sometimes that something like a lemon or an orange might not have. I don't know why.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's a very good oil to use in blends, definitely. Famously, like eau de cologne and things like that usually have bergamot in. So if you're making your own perfumes and your own blends, very good oil to use. Really adds an interesting kind of green note to things.
Yeah, just making your own, obviously you've got to be careful with dilutions and that type of thing. Should we be wary when we buy perfumes or colognes, if one of the listed ingredients is bergamot? Doesn't always mean bergamot's in there, but that's a whole different story. But if there are citruses in there, should we be wary of wearing those perfumes and colognes when we're out in the sun, do you think?
No. The dilution, particularly on eau de cologne, can't remember how small it is. If you ask my mom, she'd tell you straight off. But it's teeny tiny.
Okay, fair enough. Just, yeah. And not that I'm a fan of perfumes or colognes anyway. I've found it very interesting what they describe the ingredients is, and what the actual ingredients are very, very different. And often they'll describe all these fruits and flowers and woods, and none of the actual plant matter actually makes it into that cologne or perfume.
Well, sometimes a synthetic version is better, isn't it, in terms of making a scent? But yeah, for aromatically, you would need to use essential oil for therapy, but not necessarily to make a scent of something.
Yeah, and the challenge with essential oils is obviously nature changes the aroma slightly each year. And I know someone who used to work in a sandalwood distillery, and the aromatherapist wanted the natural sandalwood, but the perfumers needed the scent profile to be exactly the same year after year, because you can't have Chanel No. 5 smelling a little bit different this year because there's less rainfall in an area. So that's where the synthetic's often used. Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah. Well, bergamot, it's put me in a good mood. I hope it's put you in a good mood. Anything else that you think that we haven't touched on about bergamot? It's a simple yet effective oil, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, I suppose the other thing to say is you can put it in the bath. So, but I would always put it into a bit of a carrier oil first, if you did feel like you wanted to to soak in it. It's very good for like water retention. So if you're feeling bloated before that beautiful week of the month, then, but yeah, just generally uplifting, not sedative. Just that's important to remember. And phototoxicity.
Final question about bars. Do you prefer to put them in a carrier oil for that dispersion of the essential oil, or mixing it a little bit with bar salts, or does it not matter in your opinion?
So I got well and truly told off for this. So so most of the time I don't put them into a carrier at all. But with something like bergamot, it's definitely safer to do that. But remember that oils and water don't mix. So whatever you do, it's just going to float on the top of the water. You mix it into salt. Actually, salt doesn't absorb essential oils either. So again, it's just collecting on the surface. So that's not diluting it either. So if there is, but I have to say, to me, diluting it into a carrier oil is more problematic from the point of view that you make your bath really slippy, and then that's dangerous. So weigh it up. The only safe thing that you could do is put it in honey.
Yeah, or I have heard milk.
Milk, yeah. So mix it with milk powder is good as well. That's very Cleopatra, isn't it? A milk.
I was going to say, if it's good enough for Cleopatra, it's good enough for us as well. So I'm about to go have
I don't feel very clean when I get out of a milk bath, I have to say. I feel like I'm covered in milk.
Exactly, yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this week's episode of Fellowship in Essential Oils. Please make sure, let us know below how you like to use bergamot and what you've noticed it's done in your life, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. And while you're lingering down beneath the video, make sure you click on that link for our masterclass. It's happening in February. It's just before Valentine's Day. And we're going to be talking about everything: love, intimacy, soulmates, and of course, answering all your questions as well. So we look forward to seeing you really, really soon.
Leave us a comment below and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Bye.